Body was cracking and mind was absolutely the lowest level. And that's when we started searching about yoga, that how yoga can help me. And I had this major question about myself. I never met with an accident. I was sitting on the floor, hale and hearty, and I couldn't get up. So what happened? So she says, you people see the reports. I see the state of mind. So when you laugh and you're happy, your body is light. When you cry, you sleep, no? Because your psychological effect on your each individual cell is so high and heavy that it makes you to sleep. And when you sleep after crying, it's a very heavy duty sleep. It's not a light sleep. When you sleep after big laughter and then you get up in the morning, it's a light body. So every cell is responding to your mental state or your emotional state.
So thank you very much for taking out time and joining us on a new podcast episode for Bright Life Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I would love to learn today from you about the body mind connection, and especially for someone who's so experienced with Iyengar yoga as you, I could not think of a better person to come to and ask all the questions that me and possibly a lot of other people have. So before we start, I would love to learn a little bit about your journey. How did you get into yoga?
Again, body mind. Body was cracking and mind was absolutely the lowest level. And that's when we started searching about yoga, that how yoga can help me. Because the rest of the medical science has already recommended me a bad kind of a spinal surgery. I had a major slip disc of the lumbar and also cervical. So much so that the entire lumbar and the entire cervical disc were prolapsed. So there was no disc in place, correct position. As a scientist, I decided not to go for the surgery because that was not the cure. That was temporary, just little bit of relief for a while. Because in surgery, you cut open, you remove the disc, you do not replace.
You said as a scientist, so were you studying science?
Yeah, I am a trained microbiologist, and I was doing my master's, and obviously because I was struggling with my own health, so I was quite a bit correlating and studying about myself. So that used to give me the clear-cut picture that when you remove the disc, you fuse the two vertebrae. When you fuse the two vertebrae, the next two vertebrae are in a very vulnerable condition. So 98% of the people then get into the second pit of injuries. So knowing this fact, I had decided not to go for the surgery.
How old were you when this happened?
26. No, how old I was when I was 15.
You were 15 when you had slip disc.
Yeah. So by the time I reached to the 26, I was in wheelchair. So my father had this major belief that only the Indian system of science or medicine, whatever you call, will cure me. And he figured out that yoga has a major possibility. And then Nanaji Deshmukh gave us this picture of B.K. Iyengar. When I met Mr. Iyengar, I felt for the first time how small as a scientist we know. Because till I met Mr. Iyengar, there was no MRI in India.
Oh.
So what used to happen, I will go for the x-rays and x-ray will never show. And all the entire doctor fraternity, who were very close friends of ours, the top notch, will say, oh, the girl child has a very weak musculature. So that's the reason back is hurting. Till the time I reached to the position where I couldn't move. And then I got the MRI done when 1992, the MRI came into India. But when I met Mr. Iyengar, he didn't ask anything. He saw my body, he saw my skin, and then he diagnosed himself that I have a slip disc of XYZ reason. I have this issue, I have that issue. And I was like, wow, this is a scientist, not me.
He just saw you.
He just saw me. And he saw this much of neck skin. And he said, this is what you have. I never showed Mr. Iyengar any MRI. I never said what I had. He just saw me and started talking about these things. And that became a major attraction for me. So when I started learning from him, of course, the first idea was to heal, to get out of the pain. But I remember clearly once he was treating me, but my pain was not going away. And then I came back to Delhi for some work, and suddenly the pain shot up like crazy, and I had to go back to MRI. And there the doctor said, well, it is quite possible that you are having now the spinal tuberculosis, because the shadows are like that. And I was aghast because, just few months ago I started working, walking, using my limbs with Iyengar, and now this is the news. So with a choked throat, I flew back to Pune, and I met Mr. Iyengar. He was lying down in his couch, and I said, Guruji. And he said, yes. good to see you here. What happened? I said, sir, this is what the doctors are saying. And he got up from the couch and he was really angry. He said, you people have too much of money to go for these kind of pictures. You don't have anything. I said, sir, really? But the MRI film has this duplicacy. Nonsense. So I couldn't stop myself, though we didn't have guts to ask questions to him because he was the authority. I said, so but how can you say that? And he said, it was 8:30 in the morning. He said, can't you see your skin? So I was like, my skin? He said, the skin is shining. The skin which shines like this is a healthy sign. You can't have infections. You have injuries, but you can't have infections. Go back and throw these these pictures from machines. I don't believe in them. And the luck would happen, there was no TV, nothing, because I had to go back again for the next MRI. And he said, look, I told you. Now, till the time I don't say you are not going to go back for the MRIs. Now, this became a very attractive point for me as a scientist and as a patient. That how did he do that? So later, when I became his quite a favorite student and he used to treat me like his own daughter or granddaughter, whatever you say, one day I asked him, I said, sir, it has been now 8-10 years, but the thing which I want to learn from you is to learn this art. How do you see that and say that you don't have this, you have this? Because in the class he was teaching one pose called Uttanasana, and where he was teaching me that, look at the hair follicles of the body, the leg. This Uttanasana is wrong. Because the direction of the hair follicle is wrong.
Wow.
So his practices was that deep. So he used to have this, no intuitive sense, but this kind of fine sensibility about the health of the body. Health of the body, that if this is what, then this is what. And I was zapped. I mean, everybody was very astonished, but I was like, this art I have to learn. Come what may. This is what yoga is, because it takes you within the body. And I had this major question about myself. I never met with an accident. I was sitting on the floor, hale and hearty, and I couldn't get up. So what happened? And then when I studied about myself and studied about many other patients, I realized, it's a mind over matter. So when I asked Mr. Iyengar that I would like to learn this, I mean, whatever you're teaching, sir, aankhon pe, but this is what exactly I want to learn, because this is a mystery. And how many people know this mystery? So he smiled, he said, really you want to learn this? I said, yes. He said, then you have to be with me continuously. And then I stayed with him for almost 22.5 years.
Wow.
So our conversation was little different from the normal students. It was a little different plane, because my questions will be then related to this.
Correct.
How did you notice that? Why are you giving this sequence? Because one day I remember I took one patient, very close friend of mine, he started working as an engineer, IITIM. He started working in some chemical factory. There he was supposed to wear a mask, but he didn't. As a young man, it's suffocating, it's choking. 1 month later, he collapsed. He couldn't breathe. And he collapsed in a way that he used to have a kind of a thing, and he will collapse. So his mother called me and said, you are going there, can you help me? I said, yes, of course, why not? So I go to Guruji. Guruji gives him sequence to work, and I am the assistant. And I'm looking at the sequence, I said, no connection with what this person has. What the hell he is doing? I was quite zapped. So after a few days, I asked him, I said, sir, no connection I see with the whooping kind of a inhalation and this sequence. So he smiled. He said, what do you think? I said, I don't think anything, because this is what you're giving him. For me, it's a sequence for a spinal condition. And then he explained, very interesting explanation, that the human body has 3 kinds of diaphragms. The human body is one diaphragm by which you breathe. But in yogic language, according to him, there are 3 diaphragms. One is vocal, one is diaphragm, and the other is pelvic. These 3 areas you take the inhalation, exhalation. And that particular posture was relaxing all those 3 areas. And I was like, oh wow. So Guruji's way of working for the patient was not by any protocol. He said human being is so complicated, and there are 2 similar reports can have a different expression of backache or asthma or TB, that you cannot give a protocol like this. You have to learn the root cause, find out, and then you have to learn how to treat it. So instead of making me a parrot, He gave me this stick that you being a scientist, figure it out, what is the root cause? Or one day I remember there was a lady who lost her husband. She was a patient. And she has a major issue with her hernia. So hernia has a very peculiar protocol. And I was assisting her since 1 year or so. And then I didn't know, then in between 1 month she was not there and she came back again. In that 1 month she lost her husband, she went into a bad state of mind, depression or whatever you say, and then she came back again. I see Guruji is giving her everything totally different. By that time I was little free with him, so again I went and asked, I said, sir, this is hernia where? I mean, there is no hernia where you are working. Huh? He is working on this area. Hernia is here. I said, sir, something else has happened. Yes, I'll tell you later. So in the library he explained me that this lady has lost her husband. And I think they had a very good couple. So it was like losing her world. So she says, you people see the reports. I see the state of mind. I am working on her vocal diaphragm because she's choked. She has pent up emotion. She has not cried enough.
Pain trapped here.
So pain is here, not there. So for months together, we were treating this, but through the chest. So my training became in that way very interesting, and I became very interested. That what is this science? This is amazing. So basically, in yoga, people don't do that. That's what I do. You have to talk to the patient. Go to the root cause. Because root cause has to be treated. So if supposingly I had one normal student in the class, she was a foreigner Australian from embassy. I think she was first secretary of Australia or something like that. Younger. I'll say Suzanne or some name. Suzanne, jump. Suzanne will jump without raising the hands, without lifting, without widening the legs. Suzanne, jump. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, Suzanne is not jumping. So 3rd month I called Suzanne in my, I'm just taking the name Suzanne, there was no Suzanne, some other name. Suzanne comes to my office and I say, Suzanne, let's talk. Yes, ma'am. And by that time I could see that she is an ardent admirer of my teaching and my knowledge. So I had a link to talk. So I said, Suzanne, there's something majorly wrong with you. Like they said, what do you think? I said, I don't think, I can see. You can't open your legs. You can't open your arms. It has been 3 months. And you have written down in your forms, everything is fit and fine. No. Can you please explain me what is there, which is bothering you and you can't open your legs and arms? So the first 20 minutes was a big cry. And the 21st minute, then she says, I was molested by my own father. So that hitch was not allowing her to open her arms and legs. So every manifestation in your body and your posture is directly related to your experiential mind. Whether it is through pain, body pain, or by this kind of a huge emotional trauma, whatever it is. And from that day onwards, Suzanne started opening because she opened out. And then I spoke to her and I said, okay, we will do this as a preliminary work. You do this every day at home and then you come back to the class and just jump.
Can you explain how it manifests in the body?
Look, every cell has a mind. And your own mind is connected with that mind. That's why we call psychosomatic system. Soma is a cell and psycho is the psychology of the cell. So when you laugh and you are happy, your body is light. When you cry, you sleep, no? Because your psychological effect on your each individual cell is so high and heavy that it makes you to sleep. And when you sleep after crying, it's a very heavy duty sleep. It's not a light sleep. When you sleep after big laughter and then you get up in the morning, it's a light body. So every cell is responding to your mental state or your emotional state, whatever you give the name or psychological state. So that is what manifests. Now her cells, when they went through that trauma of rape, they just closed. And the mind was also closed, that, don't, that kind of a feeling. So everything got shut down. She came out of it, she was hardly 13 or 10 when she got molested, but then, and she was with my student, she was 35 or something, 20 years of gap. So body started working, but shutting down was too high. And she never realized that so many areas of the body completely shut down. So when you have different experiences and bad experiences, different part of the body, they respond accordingly because your spine has different chakras.
Right.
And chakras are the symbol of energy plexus where different emotions are reciting.
Simply, I think of chakras as like energy centers, basically. They
No,
regulate.
they are not that simple energy center. They are the core of your being. What you are is based on that. And you will be based on that. Can you change that manufacturing unit? Yes, you can through the practices, but that will all depend upon how you will become. So, to my knowledge and to my experience, I've been teaching last 23 years, is everybody who practices yoga, it works on different chakras and through different postures. So the constellation of breath changes. The moment your constellation of breath changes, your mind changes. For example, when you are running, there's a constellation of breath which changes your mind. When you are running with the fear, there's a different constellation of breath. There's a different state of mind. When you are making love, that's a different state of mind because the breath is changing. So it has a huge impact of breath or vice versa. So that changes your state of mind according to your practices. That's why in yoga, there's a huge amount of permutation combination to bring you into the normal state of mind, normal posture, normal structure, so that you can lead your life without that state of heaviness, And everybody has gone through some or the other trauma, maybe smaller or bigger,
Right.
and you have taken it and perceived it in a different way.
Correct.
So imagine you have gone through a lot of fear. Like I had gone through a huge amount of fear. That tomorrow morning, I don't know whether I'll be able to walk, get up from the bed, what kind of pain I'm going to go through. This is the way I've lived my at least 12 years of life. So I had major issues with my abdominals, my digestion, my absorption.
That's the root chakra.
This is
sacral
your
chakra.
No, this is your area where you are holding your fears.
Right.
So that's how I started then studying, and it became a very interesting thing for me. And everybody has this, and that's how you get all those things. So yoga, especially the younger system, has a very interesting, important aspects, which is very good alignment, precise alignment, precisely done alignment, what I can say. Then a sequencing of the asanas. It's like you have coffee, then you have Nibu Pani, and then you have alcohol. Wow. And that's what in the new generation is happening with yoga. I did 150 Surya Namaskar. Oh, really? You messed it up. You see? So, sequencing of the asana, that is very, very essential in Guruji's system, and he has practiced so beautifully that he found out these connections and then he postulated it. So, it's like a postulate. Then the timing of the asanas. How much time you do, because that's the gestation of the asana. It will not fructify in your body and mind if you have not done it that particular period of time. That is again Iyengar system's work. Then the improvisation of the asana. Supposingly you have a frozen shoulder and you say, I can't lift my hand more than this. So how do you improvise the asana that the person gets the same effect of the classical pose of raising the hand up without damaging, without fear? Then invention of these props, which you will see at my center. So I remember when I met Mr. Iyengar, I was unable to even drink my own coffee. I had stopped reading newspaper. I've stopped my puja because I couldn't hold the book. So he gave me the props to, again, get into that mode that you can do it and it's your body who's going to respond, and that's how you start. So I personally felt as a patient that this is not the line of hope. This is the line of hope with the hand holding with so many improvisation. Improvisation of the asanas, improvisation of the props, giving you the understanding when you are dilapidated, how will you do it. So that's how this entire subject under the banner of Mr. Iyengar fructified on me as a beautiful science, art and philosophy, and which gave me a huge state of change of mind. I met Mr. Iyengar with a state of mind which was completely negative, at the rock bottom. My inner sentences used to be, I can never be all right. My rebel mind, because I'm a rebel, will say, I will fight it out. But one constant line, like many of my students have this constant line, I'm no good. So I have lived with this for years together before I met Mr. Iyengar. Not that I'm not good, but I can't do it because this is not my cup of tea. And there is no hope. Whereas when I started doing it, I remember on 12th day, he made me to stand on my palms straight. No? You are standing on your palms legs up and head down. And my body weight used to be 72 kilos, and my hands didn't have even a strength to hold my own cup. But when I did that, of course, it was a supported Adho Mukh Vrikshasana. The first sentence after 12, 13 years came, I can do it. This is what I'm going to do it. So I always consider that asana as a, makeover, changeover of my life. And every patient of mine has some or the other. This kind of
Turning
experiences,
point.
turning point. So that turning point, to have this feeling that I can do it, then manifested in my healing, and then manifested in my entire psyche. And because that state of mind was that elevated state of mind that, done it, now I will do it. The entire system started responding with lightness. So entire system, entire
And
cellular
this shows
system.
up in your life. I
Obviously.
know you personally.
So
Yes,
cellular system started talking to you that, you can do it. And this is what my agenda is when I treat patients, that they should have that feeling, I can do it. And this is the line, I can do it, because it's yoga, the biggest difficulty is patience and perseverance. You have to do it the longest period of time as a regular practice, only then it reflects as a permanent solution. Otherwise, it will be a symptomatic relief. That's what happens with the patients. They come, the pain goes away, then they leave it. Then they are again jammed. They come again, they release. That should not happen. It's a game of perseverance and patience. If somebody has that, you have done it.
So when you say that, every physical condition is a manifestation of something in the mind, and when you say that,
Vice versa.
your body of work is very, you don't have a protocol. You basically work with everyone who shows up, and
You have to
do
read. You have to
you
read.
read them,
You
right?
have to read that.
So do you often end up, asking them about what's going on in their life, in their personal life, in their emotional state, or getting a sense of it in general as
No,
well?
I will go with the symptoms. Every symptom, now I know it's on my finger, the tips, that if this is the system, this is the area where the person is stuck.
Can you
Then I
give me some
definitely-
examples?
So like I gave you this Suzanne, na? She was stuck with this
Not
huge
opening up.
amount of that. She's finished, na? She's devastated. So that holded her limbs completely contracted.
I'll ask you a question which a lot of people my age have already. I think, we say that when 30s dawn on you, so does a
Shoulder.
shoulder and a back issue, right? Like, what is tension here, for example? Like,
So basically, when you reach to 30s, you are actually you're in a quite an interesting phase of your career. You are making your career. You have targets. And now the new world is totally based on targets. So when you feel heavily responsible, your entire psychosomatic system is responsible. Now, because you're working on computers, you are not looking after your shoulders and you're not looking after your postures. Who is bothered? You are just bothered about your targets and the dates and timing. Then entire system collapses. One side your soma is saying, I'm tired. This is too much of responsibility. The other side, your posture is saying, I'm tired. It's too much of a wrong work. So both accumulate, and either they give you frozen shoulder or cervical issue or neck pain
or just tense.
or hypertension. Now 35 to 40 is a range of hypertension or blood pressure is because of this. So sense of responsibility. The other part of your body, which is the reflection of your sign of sense of responsibility, is your knees.
I was about to come to knees actually.
Knees again is a sense of responsibility. When you are too responsible, these are the two joints which they go away because they are taking the load of your body. So this is the stress of your work and professional life. This is the stress of your emotional life. And in 35, 40, generally your parents are also getting aged. So you are having 2-3 kinds of emotional stress. Personal life, then office, then the computer demand. The demand of computer is too high or phone is too high.
Right.
24/7 you're like doing. So one of my students, she's a very high profile bureaucrat, she writes me yesterday night a message that, ma'am, now I can't even use my phone. And she's in a position where she has to look after the entire state. She's like a state chief secretary. So what do I do? What is your suggestion? I said, just leave the job and move in. First you have to come out of this. We have to bring you back to the normal where you can start even using
Responding.
Yeah, because the nerves are getting tired and damaged, she's reaching to that. So she's planning to come for the next medical class, but this is what the condition is, because she's in a position where she has to see the state. It's not one city. So can you see the sense of responsibility? And she's a very fine officer. So this is what happens with you, and then you're saying, oh, I've been diagnosed with cervical spondylitis, and the physiotherapist or Pilate or gym will treat you for your shoulder and neck, but yoga will treat you for emotional stress. And that's where there is a huge amount of difference.
And yoga will treat you for your emotional stress by working on that
Different
particular
chakras.
chakra.
The different postures. So different posture will have a different breathing pattern. The different breathing pattern will work on your postures in a different way, and you will manifest in a different.
Are like, okay, if we have to look at emotional stressors, right? And there can be multiple types of emotional stressors. Which of the particular chakras, map to them, for example? Like I know fear is for.
No, there are different uh, emotions which are manifesting in many chakras.
Got it.
It's not just one single. Na? So imagine if you lose your child. So for a mother, the different chakra will work. For a father, the different will work. A female has a majority of the time the anahat chakra which is working, which is heart plexus, because we are emotional. Now, a mother will always go, my bacha. That's our first emotion because it's full of love, and love is the center of your heart. Whereas for the father, it will be protection. There will be a love, but the amount of the love compared to protection will be totally different.
Right.
So his chakra will be different. So do you understand? So it's
it.
not that only one emotion will go. It's not that geometric scientific work that you
Can map
map
exactly.
it like
Right. Makes
this.
sense. Right.
So if you have a fear is also emotion from heart, and fear is also emotion from your abdomen. So and it's not just this. It's the entire spine that starts working on that direction. So your nervine conduction will change, your circulation will change, your breathing will change, your hormonal level will change. It's not this button system.
Right.
It's a map which is a very deep rooted and connected, interconnected, na? Because your nerves are connected with your muscle is connected with your tendon is connected with your bone is producing marrow has all kinds of blood elements. So many of the people who are undergoing through huge amount of stress, they have massive infection. The time period when I was suffering a lot, I had massive infections, and they will take huge amount of time to go out of your system. And you are back to antibiotics or antiviral, and then your body is again cracking. So one has to understand that you have to bring the stress levels down through the practice of yoga. Otherwise, when the kind of stress I go through, the body should crack in seconds time. It doesn't
Because you practice.
because you're practicing, and it definitely cracks when you are over the graph. And every human body has these graphs. To say to the people that you have reached the situation, nothing touches you, is fake. Hardly any people, normal people I'm talking about, has this condition.
Correct.
The best of the best yogis have these conditions. That's why you go towards the state of mind which is yogic state of mind.
Right.
I cannot say I'm a yogi. I am practicing yoga to achieve that state of mind and become one day yogi. Now, every second person is yogi now in
Yeah.
India or abroad.
Especially.
Who practices yoga is a yogi. No, it's a different state of mind. Like Ramakrishna Paramahans had a cancer. Imagine if, God forbid, if I have a cancer, I'll have a different state of mind. Whereas the Ramakrishna Paramahans had a cancer and he was the greatest yogi. And his student used to cry because he used to bleed from the eyes. And he'll say, why are you crying? I'm not feeling any pain. For me, it's a perishable body, it will go. And students will cry. So you see the state of mind of the yogi. So are we that state of mind? So let's
Not
not
even
talk
close.
about it. But if you are on that path and you are practicing that, you are heading towards that beautiful state of mind which will help you to, come out of so many things. Of course, you may slip down and come back again. But this is how the yoga works on you and holds your hand.
Right.
And
And I think the goal is not to become stress free. It has to become, capable of handling and
I
getting
don't
ready
know
to.
what is the definition of stress-free condition, because a person can be stressed out by seeing a lizard.
So just increasing our capacity to take
imagine you
stress.
have this fear and you are unable to get out of that fear that here is a lizard and it will affect me. Can something help you to at least minimize that? Yes, yoga. And maybe a good practice can eventually take you out of that. I mean, I've gone through these kind of fears and come out of it through the practice of yoga. And my mother used to remind me, देखा तुमने? तुम पहले ये थी और अब तुम ये हो. And it was like, wow, she can notice that. So that's amazing, but it is the longest period of time. You can't get these things in 10 days time, 15 days time. You will get a feeling of that. Yes, this is what I'm looking at. But that looking at, to achieve that, you will take few years. Please make a note. Any good thing doesn't come like this. A fruit takes some time to ripe. A baby takes time 9 months to come up. There are fruits which take 1 year to ripe, and they are the most Ayurvedic fruits like bale. Na? एक साल लगता है पकने में. And the position of bale and amla in Ayurveda is like mother and father. You see the status. You reach in asanas also, the advanced poses, not less than 2 years. So these are the gestation periods. So the problem with the younger generation or the new India is to get things faster way, because everything is very fast. Now you have information fast, you have this fast, you can videograph, you can publicize, but you can't achieve health like this, whether it is emotional or physical or mental. You have to work every single day hard and harder and hardest to achieve that. So that's why it is said na, that health cannot be bought and sold. It has to be achieved.
Correct.
It has to be achieved by hard work, and you cannot measure these things. तुम्हारे में 6 महीने लगा, किसी के 1 महीने में हो गया, किसी के 6 साल लगे. It took me 8 years to get out of the pain. In my class, I see people are getting out of the pain in 10 days' time. So you see how much body was damaged. And I was treated by Mr. Iyengar, who was an authority. So every body has, and what a state of mind I had gone to Guruji. Nothing can be done. I will not be all right. What will happen to my life? In one of the interviews, Guruji says it was the hardest work to work on Nivedita's mind, because Nivedita's mind was like castor oil sticking to her head that I can't do it. A very intelligent mind, but castor oil, na, which sticks to your body like chap chap, na. So the negativity was like chap chap. It is on record. I mean, in my journey, there is a movie which is done on me. On record, Guruji says it was the most difficult thing to work on Nivedita's mind. A bright mind, a bright girl, but was not ready to accept that I can do it. It will happen, and I'll be all right. So imagine, for Guruji, it took 8 years to bring me out of the pain. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. Imagine a yoga itself is healing you, and you are taking so much of time. So there is no particular pattern. It all depends upon. So I can see now patient, and I can say, oh, this patient will be all right very fast. Though the reports are bizarre, but I can say, no, he'll be fine. The reason is the mind. These patients come and they surrender. जो हैं आप हैं, जैसा आप कराएंगे हम कर लेंगे. So my mind goes straight to their entire body, and then I start working, dissecting their inner body, inner being, and say, okay, remove this, bring that. This is non-invasive technique. It's mind to mind.
Right.
And I tell them immediately in 7 or 8 days that you'll be healed very fast, because the mind is like that. There's no questioning. It's surrendering. I started becoming all right because I surrendered. Finally, I surrendered. I said, this is it. It is he who's going to treat me, and he's going to do everything. And that's when the things start working. So the topic called yoga is a very heavy duty topic, because it involves your not only body, mind and soul, but it involves your being. And being is very interesting. It cannot be mapped. It cannot be MRI'd. It cannot be scanned. It cannot be X-ray. Now in that condition, which is absolutely unknown, you have to bring that some known facts and work on it. That part became very interesting for me, and that is what is now the work which I do. I talk to you, I understand, I go inside you. There are patients where I have to say namaskar because I can't go through you. Everything
There's
is
too
hidden.
much of a wall.
Too much of a wall, and it's not their fault. That's the way they have built themselves up, thinking that they're very powerful. And that power became their biggest weakness. So in my darbar, if I can say, the best of the best people have cried. And I remember some of the time, one of my patients, I can't say, I can't even give you the entire anecdote because it's quite political, but when he came, he was a big shot again, a big bureaucrat. So, hi ma'am, and ta-ta-ta. And then he said, this is what my problem is, here I'm stiff, here I'm this is my report. I heard. I said, sir, what next? And he says, nothing. And I looked at him and I said, sir, what next? He said, nothing. And third time I said, sir, what next? What is the thing which you are hiding so badly? And tuck, 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 a male is crying. "Drrrr, duck." How do you know that? I said, I know nothing. I want to know. There is something majorly hidden within you because you have lost it. You have no life force. Man is coming like this. And high profile person. Only back problem. Not possible. And then the answer came was the kind of stress he was going through because of the political game against and around him was too much for any man. And he was a very honest officer. And he cried. He said, "Ma'am, I don't know how I'm crying." I said, "Because you're releasing first time your pent up emotions." And he was choked. He would have died. And then everything started releasing in the medical class to the point where he said, "I can handle myself." So you see, this is what yoga is. You have to go to the root cause. Now, for that, your own experiential knowledge, your own practice should be very solid, and your own ethics should be very solid. You should not puncture a person just to know and then don't heal it. Oh, the person will die. So
To finish the surgery.
you have to complete. If you are saying there is an issue and
You don't.
she says, "Yes, there is an issue. So I have a patient, she will come at 1 o'clock." So she comes in the class and I have a frozen shoulder. Okay, very good. Let's start working on you. Frozen shoulder. Oh, nothing is working. And my entire staff is working on it. Pull this, push this, do that. So I left her body. I said, "No, you have something more." She says, "Nothing." I said, "No, you have something more. Your entire body is finished. This is not frozen shoulder. This is not cervical issue. This is the issue of your entire being. Come out of it." A very pale smile. The next day again, I said, "Darling, sorry, I'm not going to work on your shoulder because I will work, you will get some relief. But this is the entire building is collapsing. Entire building doesn't collapse like this. Either you have some autoimmune disease or you have major emotional disease." I said, "One day I'm going to sit with you and understand. Only then I can help you. Because what I'm doing is symptomatic relief. Huh? You send me a report, I speak
Give
to
you
you
some,
and
yeah.
da. And then 2 days ago she says, "Well, I want to meet." I said, "I have no time. I would love to meet. So why don't you write me a mail?" She says, "A mail only you're going to read?" I said, "Yes, I'm only going to read." I get a 1-page mailer. What is there in her life? If I would have gone through that state, maybe I would have killed myself. That kind of
That kind of sorrow.
sorrow. So every cell of her body is dead. There is no life force. So the cellular system is not responding to our muscular system, it's not responding and connected with the bony system. So every joint, every part of the body, every muscle is finished. She's constantly doing this pain, chatak. No normal patient will do that. Pain is here, a pain is here, a pain is there, a pain is there. But not
Can't
the
be
entire body.
everywhere.
Because the entire body, emotional body, physical body, and psychosomatic body is finished. So I have a date with her today.
How cute.
When I read that, I said, "Oh, wow, brilliant. I mean, what is left there?" And she is still surviving with a lot of grace is commendable. And I don't think she has ever saluted herself. So why the world will salute you? I am 200% sure, she feels absolutely no good. She feels she has lost it. She feels now nothing is there. That's the body is showing. So the next session, I will work with her in a different plane because this I found it out while I was working. You know, when I'm talking to you like this and I'm seeing your pictures of MRIs, that doesn't say everything. That is only technical part. So I started working on technical part and suddenly I realized कि नहीं, ये सत्य नहीं है, सत्य तो कुछ और है. And सत्य इतना भयानक है कि, oh my God, if I have to discuss that again and again, that is also painful.
I'm sure.
So first I have to tell her how to discuss and how to get out of it. Only then we can work, on that level, because through yoga she will take quite a lot of time. It's finished. So that's how your state of mind, your experiential journey,
Impact your body.
oh, heavy duty. heavy duty. There's nothing else. That's how you get cancer. So I have a cancer patient. Her body is fabulous, and she gets a breast cancer. So nowadays I don't meet patients because I don't have time. So another doctor does that for me. Dr. Eva does that for me. So I read her entire history, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we will start your treatment. But when I met her, I said, hello, on the first meeting. I said, darling, you don't have any problem with your body. So what was the choked emotion which brought you to here? And she started crying. It is the relationship or the family relationship where she couldn't express herself. And then non-expression is turning out to be a cancerous growth in your breast. So in India, I have to say this on record, female are taught and judged by their soft-spokenness. Thank God I'm not. Because when you are soft-spoken and you can't express yourself, you'll end up with the breast cancer, you'll end up with your intestinal cancer, you'll end up with your spinal cancer. For what? Just to show off that how polite you are,
How
you are rotten.
agreeable.
You are rotten from inside. So nobody in India will love a female like me or a genre like me who will say on the face that you bugger, you are spoiling my life, get out. She couldn't say that to her husband. Done deal. And who suffered? She. So it's better to say it, loudly say it when you are feeling hurt. Put it on the face of the person who is making you feel hurt constantly. Get out of it. She suffered and suffered and suffered, a young girl. And the first expression of hers was after first class is, ah, what a quietness, ma'am. This is exactly what I wanted after my chemo. She must be a very nice lady at home. She is a nice lady. So why in India, I don't know, why you make females so nice? Why you do, and interestingly, in India, we have the best form of female is in Kali.
Yeah,
But
which
we
goes on.
always ask them to become a deity who has no form. Why? So be a Kali, know the fact that you have the capacity to kill, to wean off the people or the emotions which are in and around you and throw them off. Finish them off forever.
That don't serve you at all.
So you worship the 8 forms of the deity and none of the forms you teach your daughters, because that will make she a very strong lady. Nobody will like it. She will have a capacity to say, shut up, I'm not going to take this nonsense. So that's what it is. So interestingly, people don't like this part of my personality, which is vociferously honest and blunt, and they pay me for that when the time is over. I'm game. If you don't understand that this is the form which you have to ignite within yourself and heal yourself, then come and pay me and I'll heal you. But this is the form which you have to ignite within yourself. We keep the name of the daughters in the name of deities, but we don't give them that characteristic feature. The moment the female becomes Kali or Rudri, then you start saying, oh my God, look at the temper. Oh really? Look at the injustice what you're doing with the female. And this is what the manifestation in female diseases, female, problems, because you don't allow them to manifest. I'm really thankful to my parents who made me Kali, because this is what you need in this period of time, bhai. If you know this is the fact and you know the truth, why you have to hide it? Just to show off that how polite and nice you are, and then you have a breast cancer. This is what you want? Then bear it. Then why are you trying? Same with this another female. You first become the deity, na? Okay, then become the deity. Why unnecessary then you are feeling my entire body is collapsing? It's collapsing because you have allowed it to collapse because you want it to be very good and nice. So this is how the emotions play a major role, especially in Indian female's mind, because there's so much on her plate. So
Any
yesterday-
advice to
you have to shut off certain responsibilities if you can. If you can't, please don't take shit out of anyone. Just do exactly what your heart says in the righteous path and just do it. Yesterday, one of my staff was telling one of the patient's mother that come on, madam, we have taught your son so many times, and for a second I had the same feeling that, yeah, come on, I'm teaching the mother, I'm teaching the son, I'm teaching the mother how to teach the son, and I'm teaching the son how to help your. It's too much. Huh? My job is to teach one patient, not the entire family, and I'm doing this. Patient, family, mother, father, aram taram. Simple pose not being able to do. Son is quite lazy, doesn't want to do aram taram. Then the mother starts showing me the photographs because these are part of a game that you have to practice and send me the photograph because I'm going to analyze it. What do I see? And one of my staff is raising the voice that, madam, yesterday I have shown you the entire thing. You have shot this and you still can't do that for your son. And she's flipping the photograph. And I said, what is this? My daughter. I said, she's sleeping. Yes, ma'am, she's sleeping. Who is this? My another son. Sleeping. A dog sleeping. And then mother is on the bed sleeping like this. And this son is practicing in the night to show me off in the morning. So I told my staff, I said, shut up. Do you know this mother is exhausted? She can't perform now further. Then I took on to the son. I said, you have to decide. It is your spine, it is finished, not your mother's. This lady is looking after 3 kids, 10, 12, 13. Come on. She's a professional. By the time she reaches home, she is finished. And we are asking in the class, mother, why didn't you do that? I said, no. I'm so sorry. You did your job. Now the son, you have to do the job. So imagine, and this is everywhere in the world, imagine a female is doing 10 times more work than a man. She is running and she has a big business. She runs from one far off place to this place, does things for the son, takes them back, goes to the office, goes back in the evening, then makes the child to work and show me, and we are on her head. Nah? Why not? I said, no. I am fully with you. You have done your job. How many people we can see in this way? How many, she never said to me that, ma'am, but I'm exhausted. Nah? How many females are even taught to say, I am exhausted. Stop it. No. And she was the same example. So I scolded myself. I said, shut up. Just shut up. Look at her hard work. We are only seeing the precision. No, you have not taught this. Arey bhai, kitna karegi? So most of the issues are because we are overburdened. We can't say no. And the life is going. So that's what you manifest. So very soon that mother will be sick. I'm predicting you now. 3 small kids coming from far off, an hour and a half drive, taking care of that child, and the child who is lazy. Man, it's not a joke, na? And the mother is still smiling and coming every day and doing everything. Wow. So this is what happens with the female health issues, especially in India and abroad also. I've stayed abroad 14 years. I know how the females work there. They also slog. But somewhere there, if the men are good, they share the responsibilities, very physical responsibility. I'm not talking about financial responsibility. In India, it's very less. So the entire load comes on, the females. You see in the class also, the ratio between the man and the woman is 80-20. 80 are the women.
80 are women. So ignoring their mental, emotional, physical health for all those years basically shows up in their physical body.
And in their career. So people are passionate about career, they start saving their careers, and then what do you have it? You land up with your own health issues.
Right.
You see? So that's what it is. But if you practice, you will sail through well. We all go through the same way. But you sail through very well, and then when the tide is low, then you can recover and recoup. But you all go through the same. It's just that with the practice of yoga, it is written in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Heyam Dukham Managatam. If you practice yoga, the health issues which are supposed to come and engulf you, they can be postponed. And if you get them into your system, you will sail through very well. It's not that you're not going to have health issues. I mean, it's impossible to say that if you are practicing yoga, you will not have any health issues. You will definitely have. Some are written. But you will sail through very well.
Because your resilient body is
No,
prepared.
it's not the body. It's the mind, which is well trained by the yoga that you fight it out very much better. fight it out very much better than any other normal person. Any other normal person. When I see my responsibility and I see if there was another girl who was in place of me, I can assure you either the girl would have been in the asylum or the family would have been in the asylum. The kind of responsibility I take is all because of the practice. Nothing else. Nothing else. So I have this strong belief with the scientific analysis that now the American scientists and some English scientists, I think it's Eugene Huxley or somebody, who says that in brain the spiritual wires are ingrained. When you do certain things, they get ignited, and that's when you are in a different state of mind. So for example, they say when you do continuous chanting, you have a different state of mind. Your memory increases. That's because the spiritualism is wired in your brain.
Right.
It's a proven fact. And in yoga, through the practice of yoga, all those wires, they get highly charged. So come what may, you may dip down, but you will sail through again. And that is the most interesting part as a scientist for me. That spiritualism is wired in your system. That's what makes you very solid and strong. You know, people come and say, oh, so how does it happen? I can't say, but it does happen. Because if I have to say, then there has to be some scientific proofs, na? Like this chemical is changed in this. That is not possible. With spiritualism, that is not possible. But I've experienced that. I remember that my mother used to chant a shloka called Karpuragaram Karunavataram Sansara Saram Bhujgendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayarvinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami. And she correlated this with my health issues. So every time when I had a fever or something, she will do patti. I still remember very clearly. And she will chant this. That became my source of energy. Then later I read that, understood that, and etc. I did the same with my kids. So if you ask Anna and Anne when they are unwell, and I said, can I recite that for you? Immediately, yes. Any music? No. So I'm repeating the history, and I'm very happy to see that how interestingly it works on a child who is 5-year-old. The moment I said, can I recite this chanting for you? Yes. So they are sleeping with a heavy duty fever. I'm not saying I'm not giving them Crocin, but the solace and that quietness within a child is coming from the same. How interesting, 53 years ago my mother did that. I'm doing the same, and the child is responding the same. So this is what the chantings, this is what these, solid foundation in your own system gives you as a real good being. कि क्या होना चाहिए उसके अंदर. Postures and these things are minuscule. We see that, and this is what the general perception is.
Correct.
But the reality is very much deep within us to keep yourself, intact.
How important was, your parents? I mean, support is a very small word, I think.
Upbringing.
Upbringing.
Well, yes, the solid foundation of, they are very ingrained in their own systems. Na? They believe in their, how do I say?
Value system?
No, value system, of course, very strong, but they believed in Hindustani. Na? So the real Hindi Hindustani has a lot of respect and education about their own inheritance. Our inheritance is Vedas, our inheritance is Ayurvedas, our inheritance in Bhagavad Gita, our inheritance. So they were very solidly trained. So whenever we had the issues, they immediately explained us and then correlated with that. That look, this is what Bhagavad Gita says. Look, this is what this is. So that became a part of our life. And then because I had a solid interest, so I started studying that to come out of it. And then when I did different courses, for example, landmark and this and that, I used to tell your father that, this is nothing but Bhagavad Gita. This is nothing but this. Because what we were doing was in fragments, they had made a capsule. That was the difference. But so that solid upbringing and that solid faith in our own system brought me in a very strong pedestal. So I had a very strong belief, and that belief brought me here. And belief was because I'm not Andhabhakt. belief was because I had solid background of explanation. So like जनेऊ हो रहा है तो then I'll ask my father, जनेऊ हो रहा है तो क्यों हो रहा है और मेरा क्यों नहीं हो रहा, आपका क्यों हो रहा है? So I had a very solid background to understand an explanation that क्यों हो रहा है, कैसे हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, which nobody is doing it.
Curiosity was important.
Of course, but that's because of my father, na? Because he's a very curious person. So
And I
he
think curiosity was
inculcated-
encouraged as well then in that way.
So he encouraged that, okay, very good, ask these questions. I remember he laughed and laughed, and I said one day I was looking at the ants, they were eating, you know, a lot of sugar, and I was hardly 8. I said, I don't understand, इनको diabetes क्यों नहीं होती? सारा दिन चीनी खाती हैं, सारा दिन चाशनी पे होती हैं. I remember he was that happy and excited. He called his 4 or 5 scientist friends and look at the mind of this girl, child. I'm so happy. And then he explained me. He said because they have hippuric acid, and that doesn't allow it to happen. The diabetes. You see, so a brilliant child was getting brought up by the brilliant parents. You know, they had the answers because they were very knowledgeable parents. He never said that, "Ye kya bakwas sawal hai?" I do the same with my child if they ask me those kind of solid questions, and I say, "Oh, I'm not read it, so I'm not going to answer it." I never said that, "Oh, क्यों पूछा तुमने?" No. Because this is a child's mind, na? You never know what is going to come. I remember these questions to my father shooting up, and then he's turning up and says, "Sit down and I'll explain you." Because I'll see my father every day coming out of the bathroom wearing dhoti kurta, and then he has a janev, na? And he is very particular about janev. And that's when I got that 15 संस्कार होते हैं हिंदुओं के. कितने हिंदुओं को पता है? पता है कि क्यों होते हैं? So I had these good interactions with him to understand these things, and that made me very different from the rest of the kids. And I could see that in the class that I'm 51 child in the class. We had big classes, na? In comparison to all those 50 students, I was different. I will come up and ask a question. How many parents do that? They don't know themselves. Hanuman ji narangi kyun hai? These were the kind of question I used to ask, and I got all the answers, you know. People don't know that, they don't encourage their kids, and the kids are fine. And then we say, "Oh, अबे ओ क्या? वो तो तुम हो, वो तो तुम हो, तुम बड़ा हो तो बच्चे भी हो हैं." So I had these questions, and I was answered very well. And I wish that my kids have the similar questions and I can answer them same well, because that's what make you what you are. So, you know, very interestingly, when I went for the first time in France to study, a big workshop, and I'm one of the participants. I was the only Indian participating in yoga workshop. Then somebody asked, "Where are you from?" France. "Where are you from?" Netherlands. "Where are you from?" Germany. "Where are you from?" India. "Oh, from India. What are you doing here?" Kind of a thing. And I was thinking, how many people even know that if I'm Indian, why I'm Indian? So if you have to go to abroad and you have to ask, if somebody asks you that you are Indian, oh yes, how? You are wearing jeans, you are talking in English. You know nothing about your scriptures. You know nothing about your roots, and you are Indian. Bloody hell, you are more than Western. So every Indian is more than a Westerner, and every Westerner is more than an Indian. This is the condition. I was the only Indian who had all the answers. So I became one of the most popular Indian and the most popular teacher finally. Because you were able to justify the fact that why you are here, for what you are here, and why you are, who you are, how you are made up of. Every student will recite a chanting there from their own country. You know, every country has. I was the only, my mentor was more than Indian, so he knew a lot, but I was the only Indian for which he will say, "Okay, Nivedita, start." And Nivedita will start. That's because of the parenting. And I was laughing with him. I said, "You know, Faik, I never realized that how much my parents have taught me." One day I was in a very nice spa, and I'm getting massage, and the spa has, chantings. And I realized that I knew 450 chantings out of that whole album. When did I learn that? I don't know. And thankfully, I'm going to do the same with my kids. By the time they're 13, they should know half of the India. We are Indian. How? Why? कैसे? नमस्ते करने से आप इंडियन नहीं है ना? ज़बान आपकी अपनी नहीं है, कपड़े आपके अपने नहीं हैं, खाना आपका अपना नहीं है, सोच आपकी अपनी नहीं है और आप इंडियन है. So your upbringing, your rooted in your foundation, rooted in your culture, makes you what you are. And our Indian culture is very rich. Our civilization is the richest civilization. We should definitely indulge to read, to study, to understand, to question, and figure it out why the hell we are so good. Because our civilization is very good. So this is a different, altogether a different chapter, that why you are the way you are. It's because of my parents. And then thankfully I met Mr. Iyengar. Then we became great admirers of each other, because suddenly he realized that a young girl comes who is a scientist, good brain, no Sanskrit, and she completes his half of the shlokas. Na? He will say, oh Nivedita, Charvak ki philosophy thi, yavat jivam sukhat jivam. I am not remembering the second line. I said, sir, ran kritva ghritam pivam. How do you know that? I said, my mother was a philosopher. She was a student of philosophy and English. So she taught me this. When did Amma teach? How did she teach? I mean, I remember, but... So then I became the apple of the eye of Iyengar, not because I was pestering him, because I knew things about my culture, about my religion, about my, ethics, about my roots.
About the scriptures as well.
So then he started loving me a hell of a lot, because तुम्हें एक ऐसा student मिल रहा है जो तुम्हारी बात समझता है.
Absorb कर पा रहे हैं.
हाँ, and then I became the student who can be presented to the Western world कि भाई हमारे वहाँ पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं. इत्तेफाक से वो भी योग सीख रहे हैं. ना, otherwise you talk nonsense. So then I became his master's voice. Anywhere in the world he will travel, he'll take me, and entire media was governed by me. Because they will have these kind of questions, ना कि आपके उसमें क्या और उसमें क्या और उसमें क्या. So our own foundation has to be very strong. I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe in that, because that's what my father and mother did very smartly, very smartly, very smartly, without any force. I'm doing the same with my child. Same. किसी किसी दिन हमारी पूजा में हम सिर्फ अलमंडा के फूल में चींटियाँ देखते हैं, लेकिन वो कितना सीख रहे हैं मेरे साथ कि एक फूल है जो येलो है, जो अलमंडा है, उसमें चींटियाँ हैं, वो क्या करती हैं, और हम चढ़ा रहे हैं शंकर जी को. शंकर जी भूल गए हम थोड़ी देर के लिए, कल हम फिर शंकर जी पे आएंगे. So then this is the way I've been taught, and this is the way I am teaching. So these foundations are what gave me the strength. And then yoga made the entire life very easy, because these foundations were then sprouting very well on the foundation of yoga. वो कहाँ आप बोलेंगे और करेंगे जब आपके पास कोई उससे ज़्यादा solid foundation नहीं है.
You know, when we started the interview, you joked कि मैंने ऐसे engineering की सीट खराब करके मैं आपका ये YouTube interview ले रही हूँ. But looking at your life, how the dots connect?
No, a lot. I'll tell you. Microbiology, well, yoga is a science, art, and philosophy. So I was very comfortable with the scientific part of the yoga, and that's what I do. I teach few years only science of yoga to the students.
Right.
Now, those who are interested, they can come and discuss the philosophical part, but generally science. The second part was that microbiology teaches you the intricate, the minutest cell. So that made me to connect with my psychosomatic system very much, and to understand how the entire game is. Number one. Number two, in Guruji's system, he doesn't teach you the asanas like this. कि अच्छा चलो तुम त्रिकोणासन कर लो, बड़ा अच्छा होगा तुम्हारे लिए. No. He has studied that if you doing trikonasana for X problem, how the muscular system, the circulatory system, the hormonal system, the psychosomatic system, the skeletal system or skeletal muscular system is working in that particular asana.
Right.
So for me to connect with that was like this. The moment he'll say, look, in trikonasana, tuck, tuck, tuck is happening, I said, oh, I understood. For the normal person, it was just a structure of geometric structure, not a triangle pose.
Right.
For me, it was not. That is where my scientific dots connected with the spiritual dots.
Right.
And they complemented with each other fabulously well.
Like it almost feels like that, all the foundation that your parents gave you, the education that you went and acquired for yourself. And I think
this is destiny.
This is destiny. And walking, the kind of physical distress and emotional distress you experienced while you were
continuously. It's not any day which was tough, no?
Right.
It's because of that.
And you can probably, because you've experientially handled and
experiential
handled
knowledge.
yourself.
This is absolutely experiential knowledge. Yoga is an experiential knowledge. It cannot be given to you only by the books. By the books, Guruji used to say a good book is better than a bad teacher.
Right.
Agreed. But it is an experiential knowledge. एक दिन मैंने अपने father से कहा कि but I don't understand why the people are reacting on particular issue like this. I personally feel it is like this. So my father smiled and said, you know, you have gone through a lot. So your experience of the life is in a very high pedestal. So don't compare your thinking process with a normal person who has never gone through these kind of solid experiences. No, it's a normal life. You go to the school, you go to the college, you get married, you have kids, you have office, the life ends. Here, just the reverse. You go to the school, you go to the college, your studies ends, and then you start studying a new subject. You create a horizon for your own self, and then you dip down, then you come up, then you dip down, then you come up, and then your journey begins. This is not normal. This is not normal. I mean, where do you see a girl child in India getting married at 40? How many? Handful. Delivering 49. Handful? No, I think fingerful. Nah? And then leading your life like when people ask me, are you the mother or the grandmother or the... I said, well, do I look like grandmother? Then your eyes are bad. I'm a mother. I'm not her aunt. Any problem? So it's a very different life. It's not a normal life at all. So I was trained and designed by the God to go through this because He was making me like that. I had some prarabdha, past karmas to manifest like that, but this is what it is. It's not a normal life at all. It is not at all a normal life, but when was I normal, I was thinking. As a child, I was also not following any principle of any kind of the normal life. No way. If the teacher is saying do the homework, I'm saying why should I? She's saying you will remember. I said you please ask me. Is it normal? What can she say? You are judging my knowledge? Here is a knowledge. But why are you asking me to write? I don't like writing. What is normal? When I connect my dots, I said, oh, abnormalcy was from the beginning. You are not game with... And in the class, you are first. First. No, report card always up. I've never written anything till 4, 5. No way. Amma used to do my homework. Will go carrying my bag, go to the principal office, tell her that this homework is done by me. But she knows everything. Is it normal? I've never seen this kind of kids. Thank God my kids are not like that. I would have gone crazy.
Yeah.
It is only Amma can do that. But so, leave my life, which is very interesting and special life. I don't say abnormal, but I had all these things from the beginning that you cannot map life. There is no structuring of the life. There is no age for the life. There is nothing which is predestined. And you say, at 26 it should happen. At 28 it should happen. Kaku has done the engineering. She should be engineer. Kahan likha hai? It's nowhere written. We do things, but we land up doing things in a totally different plane. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is the same.
Absolutely.
अब अपने भाई को देखो तुम. What did he do and what is he doing?
No.
A good part of the world, no?
I think more than anything else, parallel education that my dad directed me towards is what is leading towards bright life as well, right? Yes.
Same. So when you have this kind of education at your home, you come out as a very different and interesting person because you have a possibility to see things in a different way. That's what you did and that's what I did.
I know science is useful in yoga and my engineering is not going off any waste in the products we're building at Bright Life.
As long as we are using our knowledge to do good things, nothing is wasted. So that's what it is.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always nice learning from you since I was a child.
Always lovely to talk to you from the time you were a child.
Thank you.
Thank you.